Hello there once again, fellow peregrinos. Welcome to El Camino de Santiago, Pilgrims podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation, and packing for walking El Camino de Santiago, as well as tips, tricks, and hacks to make your journey along the way a lot more enjoyable. We want to give you the trip of a lifetime. To that end, this week we're talking to Zehra Rizvi, who walked the Camino Frances last summer. We've already interviewed part of Zehra's Camino family. Chris Corbett last episode, Dan Jarvis, hi Dan, Andrew Baker, who is an amazing singer as well. And so Zehra, we're going to start the podcast like we always do, like the ice-breaking question on the Camino de Santiago. This is not a decision we take lightly, but we still are brave enough to make it. The decision to walk 500 miles across Spain. How and why did you come to make that decision?
So, hi everybody. I actually did take it totally lightly. I'm one of those.
Good.
Somehow, yeah. I mean, I bought my ticket on Wednesday night and I left on a Monday because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I have like 6 weeks or 7 weeks in front of me, so I'm going to do this. And that's basically how that decision got made.
In terms of preparation, your preparation was just to make the decision and see how it goes.
Yeah, my whole Camino was that way, in fact, as it turns out. And it turned out to be one of the best experiences ever. I had zero expectations about what. So, I mean, I basically, I decided, I was like, oh, I've got some time. I've been saying for the last like 8 years that I want to do the Camino. So, and time is always something that not a lot of people have. And, I had the privilege to have that time. So I was like, okay, so this is normally the biggest blockage is time. And I've got it. So if I don't do this now, when will I manage to do it? And so it was that, and I knew I needed a backpack. I knew I needed some things. So I was like, I'll be able to manage and figure it out. I'm also, and maybe I should say this, I'm an aid worker and I work in disasters. So getting up and leaving and going somewhere quickly and being prepared, that's a part of my life. So that probably aided. So it didn't feel like it was a weird thing for me to do, is make a decision and leave 3 days later.
So I just want to backtrack a little bit with the decision being 8 years in the making. When you first got the urge to do it, what gave you that urge, and why did you make the decision that you wanted to do it?
So I heard about it in 2012. I remember the exact moment. I was working at that time. It was early 2012. I was working at that time with the British Red Cross. I was living in Geneva. Me and a couple of British Red Cross colleagues went out to our office in Budapest, and I had two colleagues. One who was Irish, one who was Spanish. And I was talking about, oh, Budapest is so lovely. This is a great place to run. And somehow we started talking about, they brought up the Camino. And they were like, this is something you would enjoy. And it sparked, as soon as they said it, it sparked something in me. And I was like, this sounds like something I would absolutely love. And I hadn't been to Spain yet. And at that point, I actually spoke Spanish. I don't anymore. And it just sounded, the way that they were talking about it and describing it, it just sounded like something that, that I really wanted to do. And it's come up over the years, or it had been coming up over the years since then. And it was something that I'd always be like, oh yeah, I should do it. I should do it. And I actually put it down as part of my 2019 goals list and said, I'm going to do it. And, and once I actually put down goals, then, it's there in writing. I try and hold myself accountable to it. So managed to find the time and was like, it's now or never.
So 8 years ago, they first said this to you, and you said it captivated you, and you said it sounded like something that was really what you wanted to do in it. But what exactly did they say? And I'm asking that question because maybe someone's listening to this podcast now and they're sitting on the fence, they're undecided, and maybe what they said to you could motivate them to go as well.
Good question. I mean, the way they described it, the community, I think that's the
Mm.
community and the freedom, the feeling of no obligation, the feeling of adventure. I think those were the things that captivated me around it. And also that, yeah, that you go place from place with just your backpack and it's open. And they talked about the albergues and that sense of, putting one foot ahead of the other and you just have yourself to sort of make that happen, but that there is a community and that there is, a bunch of people doing it to separately but together at the same time. So that's I've never had to think about this, so that's quite interesting that yeah, that it's in hindsight, but it's pretty, that's what it would have been, the sense of community
Mm.
and knowing that there was a route that was set out for people, that there was facilities along the way to make it easier.
I love what you said there, and there's three words that I can pick out of that, and the three words are freedom. And I think back to a line from the movie Into the Wild. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's, if you haven't, I'm not going to tell you about it. Apart from the fact you should really, really watch it. But it's about a guy that leaves conventional life behind. He just graduates from university. He gives all of his savings to charity, and he decides he's going to kind of tramp around America. And he writes in his diary, free from the irksome obligations of modern life. And I always carried that with me as I walked on my Camino. So I love that you mentioned that. And the adventure, I mean, my God, just, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah.
And the community fit on the Camino, I've said it before in this podcast, it brings out the best in you and everybody around you. And I think you get a glimpse into what some kind of golden age of humanity would look like if it existed. And you'd have a little taste of it with just how open everybody is with each other, all the pilgrims, the locals, the saying hello to strangers, the helping each other, like the lollipop man, Chris
Yeah.
Corbett, which is just one of the loveliest stories I've ever heard in my life, let alone about the Camino. So you're going to get freedom, you're going to get adventure, and you're going to get community, as well as what you said was turned out to be a great experience. So thanks for packaging all that, Zehra, into something that sounds actually very attractive, and probably most people would want to take loads of it. So
Yeah.
good stuff. Now, I am intrigued to ask you another question here, because I like it when people tell me they just went for it. They didn't plan it so much, because sometimes if you dwell on stuff, you can find a lot of reasons maybe not to do something, but you just went for it. Now,
Yeah.
what I like this could mean is, on your first 3 or 4 days or first week or however long it was there anything when you were along the way you were thinking, oh, if I do the Camino, I won't do this again, I won't pack that again, or I'll walk less, or anything, any mistakes you made, can you remember the first few days?
It's I figured out my mistakes the first day,
Go for
and
it.
which is the hardest day. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're going. I started at Saint Jean Pied de Port, so, and I wasn't sure, like, I'd say my level of fitness, I'd been struggling with some like health issues, and the health issues were literally related to the right side of my body and how it was functioning or not functioning. Turns out I also had a broken toe, which I didn't think I did, but then
Ooh.
it turns out I did. So I really wasn't sure how much of it I was going to do. And the first thing I did say to myself is be kind to yourself. And I gave myself loads of time to do it as well. But going over the Pyrenees and stuff like that first day, and I was just like, okay. And I started removing things from my backpack. I was like, there is some things in here that I am just not going to need. And it wasn't like loads of things. It was like, it was stuff that you could buy in a pharmacy.
Can you
So
be
I was like,
specific?
yeah, it was a lot of bug spray because I was carrying two, and I was like, I don't need two. I can buy another one. So anything liquidy, I just started taking out and just in Roncesvalles. There is that, I mean, you get into Roncesvalles and there's that like massive albergue that pretty much everybody ends up at, which is lovely, by the way. Just because you start meeting everybody who's there and who will be part of your cohort for a while. And they just had a table there that was like, take what you need and don't take what you don't, and leave what you don't want, kind of a thing, or don't need. And you see a whole entire table full of stuff because everybody realizes we don't need that many things anymore. But liquidy things is what I was taking out, and bug spray was high on that list, extra body wash, kind of a thing, because I was like, I'm not going to want to buy stuff. And the thing is, use the pharmacies along the way and buy stuff. But those were the heavy things. But pretty much I packed pretty light. And once I figured out the pharmacy situation, I went even lighter. And I think I started shedding some clothes, extra socks that I had taken along with me, one extra shirt as well. I just, yeah, shed that out and I tried to go as light as possible.
Good stuff. So anything liquidy,
Yeah.
probably you won't need to carry with you, and you can buy, like you said, as and when along the way when you might need it. And we've said this before in the podcast that there's farmacias, the chemists, the pharmacies all along the
Oh,
way
yeah.
that
They're
you can
great.
you just look out for that green flashing light in any town. Sorry,
Yeah.
green flashing cross, should I say, in any town. And so you shelved some socks. How many socks did you end up with in the end? I mean, sound like silly questions, but this is stuff that's all
No,
important
no,
to
this is
pilgrims.
super important.
Yeah.
This is super important. One of the things I did do was buy a pair of socks when I was there. And yeah, pay the money, pay those $18 or €18 or whatever the hell it is. They claim to be blister free, and they were. Because like Chris, I don't know if you mentioned this, and I've not listened to his podcast yet, but I will get to it. Um, I had no blisters throughout the whole entire journey. It was my secret goal going into it. But also, I got some compression socks as well, which were long ones. And so it's basically those two. I had three pairs of socks with me at the end. Some really small ones, yeah, those ankle sock thingies. But really, the two pairs of socks that I kept going through was one long one that was a compression sock type thing, and then this blister sock.
What was your blister sock brand? Can you remember?
No.
Okay.
It
Okay,
was pink
yes.
purple.
Pink, purple blister socks. There you go. See if you can find that. I mean, there's different brands that we've heard mentioned on here before.
Yeah,
Unjinji, we've heard Riot blister socks as well.
yeah.
So yeah, by all
Uh,
means,
Somewhere
good.
along the Camino, there was like this outdoor sports place, and I was just like, and I was trying to be, I wasn't on a budget as much as other people, but I definitely didn't have like loads of money. So it was a decision, but it was because again, it's like $20 for a pair of socks. And I was just like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. And then I was like, no, no, I am not doing this because everybody around me was getting blisters. And I was like, this is not what my Camino is going to look like.
It's
So I was
probably,
like,
yeah,
invest in your socks. Just do it.
great advice, and I couldn't have said it better myself. So we talked about some stuff that you've left behind. What about some things that you would take with you were you to go again tomorrow off the cuff? So you are a person that's always got, by the sounds of it, you're very highly adaptable due to your job and your skill set. So imagine I said to you, Zehra, we're going on the Camino tomorrow, and you've got to pick three things that you take with you. And aside from the obvious, which will be your backpack and your backpack, socks and shoes, what would it be?
Trekking poles. It's my knee is a huge issue for me. Even if your knees are not an issue, one day they will be because we all gonna get older. So just protect your knees already. Take the trekking poles. It was something that was completely new for me. I'm not like adventure girl. I'd never done anything like this before. I'm not a big hiker either. So it took me a good 5 minutes. It was the first thing I wanted to throw out when I started my walk because I had no idea how to use them. But it took about 5 minutes. I got there, stayed patient. Take the trekking poles and use them. They are just super, super useful. And please put a rubber stopper on the bottom of your trekking poles because otherwise you are just annoying everybody on the Camino. I would definitely, and I think Andrew mentioned this, is a battery pack, but Andrew talked about a solar battery pack.
A
I
pioneer.
like, yeah, I like that idea. I am totally going to take in fact, just on mission and when I'm working and stuff like that, I'm going to look for a solar battery pack and take that. And the most useful I had two super useful things, but they're of the same variety. One was a Turkish towel, which I used, yes, as a towel, but I also used it as a blanket. And then I had like this shawl wrap type thing, which I used as a head covering because I didn't take a hat with me or anything like that. But when it would get hot, I would wrap it around me. I used it as my bed sheet as well. So there was something at the bottom of my bed that, instead of taking a sleeping bag or whatever. And I also used it as a piece of clothing. So I could just wrap it around me in the evenings so that I had that. So multi-purpose, multi-use items, incredibly important. I know I just gave you four, but the last two I'm combining as like one.
No, that's perfect. The more help you can give, the better. So poles with rubber stops, so you're not thwacking the ground and getting on everyone's nerves.
So annoying.
I have seen some Facebook posts
Yeah.
alluding to that matter. To be honest with you, I never even noticed it myself. I've never used poles before. To be honest with you, Zehra, everything you said is such great info because I had just booked a Camino for next month. Me and my wife were going to honeymoon on the Camino del Norte. And
Oh,
I've just got an MRI scan back because I just wanted to do a health check because I knew my knees were not quite right myself. And I've just seen that I've got some severe degeneration on my right knee.
yeah,
And I've got to call it off
yeah,
and go into rehab on my knee, which is
yeah,
devastating. I won't be doing a Camino for a good couple of years at
yeah.
least.
Oh,
Yeah, it
that's tough.
hurts. It hurts.
That's
Not going
tough.
to lie, me and my wife cried ourselves to sleep a couple of nights ago
Oh,
having to call off our Camino. But
oh,
hey,
yeah,
this is a goal to put on the horizon and a
yeah,
challenge that we'll
yeah,
get over. So the poles, I will be learning how to use myself. So thanks for
yeah,
that advice. The
yeah.
battery pack, and if you're going to be a pioneer like
Andrew.
Andrew, get a solar one. And the Turkish towel and the shawl for multi-purpose use. Good stuff. Now, I would like to get into some more Camino stories if possible, because it's those experiences that make the Camino so unique and so special and so memorable and so life-changing. So I want you to recommend an albergue or a hotel or a place where you stayed for your fellow pilgrims that are coming up behind you to stay and tell us why that was so special.
So I can't remember the albergue itself, but it was somewhere in the Meseta, and the Meseta was my favorite part. When I think about it more and more, I just loved the Meseta. I think it's hard to choose a favorite albergue because so much. Yeah, I mean, there's the albergue itself, but it's also about the company that you end up being with and what you're sharing. So I don't have a great. I know it was one of the five that I stayed in the Meseta, but I can't actually remember which one it was.
Would it
Sorry.
be the place where you ended up singing in the night away or something like that? Andrew Baker was saying.
No, and this is the interesting thing about this Camino crew that I have. They became my family after the Camino more than on the Camino, believe it or
Okay,
not. And I
right.
wanted to bring that up as something actually quite important. Because there is, and I guess we'll talk about it towards the end of the podcast, but it's when you're off the Camino and how the Camino carries with you, and these guys have been invaluable on that one. We knew each other on the Camino, but it was I feel like I've gotten closer to everybody post Camino.
I will definitely
Yeah, we'll
circle
dig
back
into
to
that
that
one. We will dig
towards
into
the
that
end.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that we'll kind of work that into the last few questions. Okay, so
yeah.
and you can't remember a specific town it was in, a name of it, anything that people
It
are
was
listening
near
can.
it was near Hornillos. This much I know. It might have actually been Hornillos, but that's right before Burgos, I think. But there was this lovely little garden outside. Also, it was after 4 days of a heat wave, and the heat wave had sort of broken around that time. And I was and it was still within the first, because Burgos for me, I think, was the 13th day or something. So it was still in the beginning parts. Maybe I'm getting my timeline all wrong because the Meseta comes after Burgos, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But no, so I can't. Sorry.
Well, I was just having a look online, a few places, and yeah, I mean, if you say it's Hornios del
Yeah,
Camino, look out for a albergue with a garden around that area,
that's the
and
one.
maybe with a bit of research that can be found.
Yeah,
So good stuff. All right, so
yeah.
I'd like to talk about a favourite city, town, or village along the way, perhaps a hidden gem, somewhere you'd recommend as an absolute must that those that are going to do the Camino soon visit to.
Um, so it was, I think, Castro Jerez. The problem with Castro Jerez, I think, is that I stayed outside of Castro Jerez for some reason, and this is the Maceta. So it's before you get to Fromista. And I only realized that town and what it looked like in the morning when I started walking through it. And then I got really pissed off, where I was just like, this is a place which I wish I had visited more and spent the night here. I was just also quite tired. I hadn't had a rest day yet, I think. And so that's a place I wish I had seen more. Pamplona, it's not a hidden gem, but it was so early on for me in the Camino that there was no way I was stopping. I was just like, I'm going. But it's a place I want to go back to. And maybe this is a weird one, but I'm a real foodie. So Astorga I want to go back to Astorga, but only to eat the food, because their cuisine and their cuisine has a special name. I cannot remember what their cuisine is called now. Um, but Astorga is a place that I want to go back to just for a food tour, believe it or not.
I remember that the square in Astorga, and it's got lots of cafes, bars, and restaurants
Yeah,
on the fringes of the plaza, and you can kind of sit there and watch the world go by under the arches, and they also bring out like in Spanish, I guess they call it a free consumo, like just a free little tapas dish that they give you with you if you have a beer or something like that, and it's a
yeah.
yeah really pleasurable experience.
It's
And you mentioned Castro Jerez, which
Yes,
is in the Meseta,
yeah,
and Castle on the Hill. That's the best way I could describe it. And
yeah.
I actually, when you said that about it being a place that you wished you'd stayed over or spent a bit more time, I remember going through there early morning as well and thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think because the way that it was set up, like the whatchamacallit is a kilometer or two outside. And in fact, I think that's the albergue that I'm talking about, the one that's just outside Castro Jerez, that I enjoyed and liked, etc. But yeah, I was super pissed walking through at dawn and being like, "This is beautiful. Why didn't I see this?" And also, I figured out the Astorga cuisine is called maragata. And
Margata.
yeah, that's their cuisine has its own name, and that's what it is. And there was, in fact, this brilliant um, organic type restaurant thing, but it was like a tapas place, as they all are. And the food there was really, really nice. I really quite enjoyed it.
Okay, so you've heard many great recommendations there. Visit Castro Jerez, the castle on the hill in the Meseta. Stay there an extra day if you can. Stay there a night if you can, sorry. And look at the Maragata in Astorga. The food there
Yeah,
is the gastronomy of Astorga.
And it's different. It's the most different place I ate because I mean, there's most of the places are pretty similar. Yeah, I mean, if you compare the beginning part of the cuisine or stuff from like Rioja or whatever, all the way to Galicia, there's some differences, but this was the one that stood out the most. There's such microcosms. That's what the interesting thing was about the Camino as well. Like as you went through the different provinces or whatever, microclimates, microcultures, and that was fascinating.
Definitely. So it was sorry, I'm just making sure I've understood correctly, so the listeners know exactly what's going on as well. The restaurant is actually called Maragata, correct?
No,
That's the
the name of the
gastronomy.
cuisine, that's the gastronomy. Yeah,
Right. Okay. Just
their
double checking because I
cuisine.
found on
Yeah,
TripAdvisor a place called Casa Maragata. So I wondered. I
uh,
just wanted to make sure that we were on the same
House
page
of
there. So
House of Maragata. I can't remember what the place restaurant was or the tapas bar or whatever that I ate at, but the cuisine itself is called Maragata.
that's a great tip. So I'm just double checking that now, and it says the city of Astorga has inherited a rich gastronomic tradition, thanks to which unique dishes and typical specialities can be tasted. Without that being cocido maragata. So
Yeah.
maragata, perfect. Thank you very much for that recommendation. I had never heard of that before.
Oh,
Thank
for
you.
real?
For
Okay.
real, for real. Never heard of that before. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm sure all the listeners are as well. Maragata cuisine in Astorga. What a fantastic recommendation. So we're going to jump into some quick fire questions now, Zehra, if that's okay.
Mhm.
And short, sharp, sweet answers, and then we'll get back to the main discussion. So, a favourite, perhaps, Camino blog or book?
None, because I did zero research, so I read nothing, saw no movies, figured out while I was on the Camino that those exist. So none.
Okay, let me recommend one. I've got a book that I wrote called The Only Way is West. You might
Ah,
like
that
that.
sounds like
Tim
a
Moore's
great book.
book, Spanish Steps, that's another one. Keith Foskett's got another really good book, Journey in Between. And we've got a guest next week who's going to be on the week after you as well. So you can look out for him as well. And our previous podcast guests have got a few as well. So look those up and you'll see some of the books from our previous podcast guests as well. Maybe, I'm guessing your answer to this is going to be null and void as well. But a forum or Facebook group that you've used?
None, because I tried to delete Facebook before I left. But here, I'm going to answer this a little bit differently. I would recommend that everybody, if you are on Instagram, definitely follow the Camino de Santiago, Camino Frances, St. James Way, like that hashtag. Because what ended up happening is that I found some people who were a day or two ahead of me. So I would be able to see what they were posting and what was going on. And that was probably my favorite Facebook group in a way.
Yeah, I found Instagram brilliant for the
Super
Camino.
useful. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I used most of the time, and yeah, that for me was perfect.
excellent. So look up the trending Camino de Santiago hashtags on Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, Vlog or film?
Yeah, sorry, useless on this. I did zero. I mean, everybody walks their own Camino, and I 100% really did. And once I figured out that everybody else had done so much research, I was like, great. If I have any questions, I'll just ask my fellow travelers. And I went in blind, and I was very happy to stay. But I would know what to expect the next day only by asking people. And other than that, I was like, I'm just going in and let's see what happens.
That's sometimes the best way to do it. No
Yeah,
preconceptions.
yeah,
So you don't get let down. If you're expecting
exactly.
something, you just go with the flow, take it as it comes.
And just have a nice surprise. I mean, the only way we discover things if we leave ourselves open to whatever is out there.
It's a refreshing approach. I really like it.
Yeah.
Favorite food and or drink on the Camino? Well, I think we heard about your food, which is the maragata. What about a drink?
Kanya. It's I'm not
Small
actually
beer.
not a beer drinker normally. But the radla, the lemon, I called it baby beer. So that's what I would end up having after a long day's walk. That was the most perfect thing in the world.
What
Was
did?
that lemony beer
What's it
thing?
called?
Radler.
Radler. Okay, never heard. Do you know? Can you remember how to spell it?
Radler, Radler.
Radler beer. Okay. But you said
Yeah,
Canya, so which
you could
that's
just
the
add
that's the small beer
caña
kind
is a
of.
small, yeah. So
Yeah,
caña, so I would say caña con limón. So it's what do you guys call it in the UK? So that top up you
shandy.
shandy
Yeah.
than. So basically, it was those small shandies. I should have just
Okay.
gone with the big one because I had many, many small ones. But there we go.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good tip. I'm looking it up now, and it's the El Radler, the Radler beer.
Yeah.
Great tip. We're hearing stuff, lots of new stuff here, Zehra. So really grateful for all this. One thing you wished you'd packed.
No, I was good. I had what I needed at the end of the day. I mean, if anything, it's things you wish you hadn't packed, but
Okay, yeah.
we covered that. Yeah.
One place you wish you stayed over, we've already done, which was
Yep.
Castro Jerez. For you,
Yep.
what was the hardest part of the Camino?
Towards the end, because you're so close to the end, you are so exhausted, yet you are so proud of what you have done. And you realize, because for me it was quite physical, for everybody, it's quite physical. You're walking like half a marathon a day, and realizing that it was mental. So just sort of getting through that and being like, yeah, it's just I will just get there, kind of a thing. And it became mental the last 4 days for me. But once I realized that, you just it's mental. It's I've run like half marathons before, so you hit that wall, and then you're just like, it's my body will just do what it needs to do. Just get your mind through it.
Second wind,
Yep.
second mental wind as well.
Yep.
A quote or meditations for the road.
A quote or meditation for the road.
Maybe when times are, when you having a hard time, something to inspire you, keep you going.
This is going to sound terrible because it's my own quote, but it would just make me laugh, because I would keep saying to myself and to the 3 or 4 friends that I was with quite a bit, I didn't come to suffer, which is the exact opposite of what everybody says on the Camino, that it's part of suffering. But I didn't go to suffer, so I would keep saying to myself, I was like, I did not come to suffer.
But in some ways, that turns your intentions towards having a good time. So,
Yeah, I mean, my reason for going on the Camino was, I want a walking. I like walking. I like good food. I want to practice my Spanish. I've got 7 weeks. I said I wanted to do the Camino. It all fits. So yeah, I was not on a spiritual journey. I wasn't on, yeah. Sorry, this is quick fire round, so I'll stop there. But yeah.
we will go into that bit
Okay.
towards the end as well, because I think that will tie nicely into your part, what you said about how you connected with your Camino family afterwards. So
Yeah.
we'll try and tie that in there. A guilty pleasure you carried with you.
Yes, I had quite a few of these, and I think these are important things to have. I had a teeny tiny bottle of perfume. It wasn't even a bottle. It's one of those like tiny test tube type things, like a sample thing. I had that with me, and that was one of the most awesome things to have. And it's again through my work. I know, like, take something that is a treat. And the other thing that I did, and this is not a guilty pleasure, and people shouldn't feel like it is a guilty pleasure, is I had 2 pieces of clothing that I would wear that were not my walking clothes. So I would change into something fresh-ish at the end of the day. So I would highly recommend that people do that, because just having that mind space and that head space is brilliant, and not just always being in your walking clothes.
I think my wife would really, really like that tip as
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah.
she loves a good perfume. My wife, and
Yeah.
if you give me a roll on deodorant, I'm a happy man myself.
Yeah.
But no, that's a really good tip as well, and I'll put that on the list for our next Camino, when that will be, when my knees are back in good working order.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get back to the main discussion now, and feel free to delve into more detail and make a more elaborate answer.
Mm.
As we alluded to before, and we spoke about before, the Camino is special for many reasons, and one of those reasons is the people we meet along the way. What you mentioned at the start, the community, and we often experience that sense of community via our interactions with our fellow pilgrims. And I wonder if you can recall a funny, inspiring, or quirky moment, encounter, story that embodies everything that's good about the Camino.
Um, there are so many stories about, yeah, all the people I met and everything that was going on over there. And it's not a funny, quirky, and maybe it is inspiring. I went in and I was like, because I was like, well, I'm doing this by myself and I don't necessarily need to meet people. And my work requires me. I am a social person, but I'm also quite an introvert, and my work requires me to engage with people all the time. So, so I was quite happy just being by myself. But I started getting dragged in a little bit against my will, where a couple of people would start talking to me, and then I was like, okay, just open up and just talk to people. And I guess what's inspiring for me is my ride or die crew. We ended up being. It was very, very organic. It was Leslie, this Dutch guy. It was quite a bit. Oh, well, it's. I hope Leslie listening is not going to be. I'm not that much older than her, but and I had Mama Camino, who was, which I'm wondering if Chris and Andrew and Dan mentioned her because she is such a central figure for all of us. Laila Mol, the frozen Norwegian, is as we called her. She, like, the three of us came together in such a way. They were with me we were together on the Meseta. All of us would walk alone. We never walked in a group, the three of us, but at the rest stops and towards in the evenings, we would be at the same places and stuff. And they really became such an integral part of I cannot imagine my Camino without the Meseta and without Leslie and Layla with me and the kinds of conversations that we would end up having. And then I had another little separate community of these two people, Florian and Anand, which was also brilliant and lovely, a different vibe from when I was with Leslie and Layla. And then there would be the larger group, the Chris, Andrew, Sabrina. I mean, there were so many people, Emma, so many people within that group. And then when we would all come together, that was absolutely brilliant, because we would all be in the same town or whatever and bump into each other, and everybody would end up going out for dinner or drinks or whatever it was. And it was just, it was brilliant. So I don't have a specific story to tell in that way, just that I was quite lucky to find different communities for the different stages of the Camino. And I think we end up going through different things as we are walking as well. So different people for the different moods and what's happening with you. And it's it's so true that the Camino provides. And I didn't want to be that person who would say like sappy hippie things about the Camino, but it absolutely provides.
I mean, in so many ways, it's like life that we meet
Yeah.
people along the way at different stages of our life, and these
Yeah.
people we learn can learn something from every one of them, and maybe there's an exchange of energy between us that we both find helpful for each other. And it sounds like all of your Camino family were able
Yeah.
to help you along the way for different reasons at different
Absolutely.
times and
Yeah.
get you to Santiago, and all of
Yeah.
those experiences and friendships and rapports that you build along the way just
Yeah.
contributed to make something very special for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's bring that in then. I mean, you said you developed an even deeper connection after the Camino. Talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I got added to because I think that there was a bunch of us who started around the same time from Saint Jean. So I would say there was a core group of people, and I was meeting them here and there, and I think it was probably Frank who was with us in the beginning, but then he was probably the first one from that group. He and Dan started together. And I think he must have added me to that WhatsApp group. And it's quite a large WhatsApp group, and I was not on the same schedule as, and this is Andrew was in that group. Da, da, da. So yes, we would see each other, we would say hi, whatever it was. I mostly used that group, and they will all forgive me for this, because sometimes, a lot of the time, they were walking a lot faster. They had some really great recommendations coming into that WhatsApp group, so I used it as an information source more than anything else. But once the Camino ended, just having that rapport in there and recognizing that these people were absolutely a part of my family and maybe I wasn't that connected to everybody when we were walking, and there was maybe one or two people within that I'd connected to more, or we had spent separate time together, like Sabrina or Suzanne or whatever. Like, we had done things separately, or when we all showed up. Actually, that was really brilliant. Chris's birthday party, and was it in Lyon or Burgos, or I think it was in Lyon that we all did that, and being invited to that, and even though I wasn't part of their core group on the Camino, I still felt so much a part of their family where, they would invite you to things when you were there. But just having that group post Camino, because the post Camino withdrawal is real. It is real. And every once in a while, when there are things happening in the world, we all check in with each other. And to me, it is one of the most beautiful things in the world. Or somebody will start something there's maybe 30 people on that WhatsApp group right now. I don't know, maybe more, some silent lurkers, whatever. But somebody will say something or post a picture, and then a whole conversation will start around it, and it's brilliant. And we will all start posting pictures and sharing stories and things. And it is such since because now we're in a pandemic life, at the beginning and at the start of that, it's we went through a whole entire thing of talking of memories and what it was like, and it's absolutely it's beautiful.
So I'm guessing you would advise to help alleviate the post-adventure
Absolutely.
come down to
Yeah.
try to connect with as many of your pilgrim contacts as possible.
Yeah. And I'm somebody who's not on Facebook. It's, I got on for the Camino so that some people could keep track of my journey or whatever. But it's the WhatsApp group has been. Thank you, my WhatsApp Camino family. You guys are absolutely brilliant. And I love, even though I was not such an active participant in our family on the Camino, these guys they have been family for me now.
I want to ask you as well, if possible, if you can find something in your memory that pertains to your toughest experience on the Camino. Because there a day when you felt like maybe you couldn't go on, a day where you felt down, and how you got through it and how you could potentially motivate others when they're having what could be their toughest day on the Camino. Because it's not always going to be roses and moonshine along the way and happy clapping and singing and dancing. There are tough times. Can you remember one?
Yeah, it was, which town was I going through? It was before my rest day was coming, and my ankle basically, it was day 11. There is a teeny tiny little town that is basically just a street, and there is a church, and there's like pretty much nothing else. It's really early on, before Bellarado. Most people didn't stay in that teeny tiny little town, but basically, like, the first 7 kilometers, I was all good. And the next 14, my ankle just started twinging at me super, super badly. And I was like, wow, I'm not even like a third, or I'm only a third of the way through. Am I actually going to make it? Am I actually going to be able to do this? And just getting into town, taking that hot shower. And this is around the time I just mentioned Anand and Florian, and I just met Anand the day before. He gives awesome foot massages. That man, literally, I've just met him, and he could see that I was in pain, so he basically just took my foot and started massaging. And it was, yeah, it was amazing because I was just like, okay, if this is what the community, I mean, basically feeling that support system and knowing that we were all looking out, we've just met, but that we're all looking out for each other. And then Florian busted out, who I'm also just getting to know. He busts out with his guitar, and we end up just having this like absolutely wonderful evening. Also, what I did, which I think people should go ahead and take the option and do if you need to, is the next day I sent my backpack forward. This is not, I felt zero shame in doing something like that. I think, everybody walks their own Camino, but I would say about a third of the time, two-thirds of the time I carried my backpack, and a third of the time, there were days when I'm just like, I did not come to suffer, so I would just send that backpack forward. So, don't let other people judge you. You do you on the Camino, because at the end of the day, it is you doing your own Camino.
This is excellent stuff, Zehra. Really nice stuff. First of all, because the story that you mentioned about, I hope I pronounce his name right,
Anand, yeah.
Anand. Okay, Anand. If you're
He's like a
listening,
monk. He's not a monk, but he's like a yoga, Chinese medicine. He's like one of those people. He's great. He also had been like walking for like 3 months, like a crazy person. But yeah.
yeah, I met some crazy people. For example, I will get back to your answer, but I met a guy in Finisterre, and
Mm.
he was walking back the other way, and I said to him, how comes you're walking that way? And he says, well, I just walked from Switzerland to Finisterre, and now
God.
and and now I'm walking home.
Wow. Wow. Good
Um,
for them, man.
yes,
You do you.
I love that. I love that quote.
Yeah.
That is going to be on a billboard somewhere. I didn't come
Yeah.
to suffer. You do you.
Yeah.
So Anand, if you're listening, book me in for a foot massage, please. Florian, thanks for the guitar concert. Thanks to all your Camino family for all of the support they provided you, the memories that you've taken away as well, the friendship that you've built afterwards, and the community you've still felt so far away from the Camino. If anyone's not done the Camino and you think about it, I'm sure after you listen to this interview with Zehra that you're going to want to. And I'd like to finish on a positive. So we've gone from your hardest moment when you thought you couldn't carry on and you haven't come to suffer, so you felt no shame in sending on your backpack. And I love that. I love the fact that you just done that, because I have to admit in the past I probably was a little bit stupid in my thinking. I felt, if you're not got a backpack on your shoulders, you're not doing it right. I am guilty of being a bit of an idiot thinking like that, narrow-minded. So I love the fact that you've just kind of alerted me to that, and I'm grateful that I'm able to bend my thinking in a more positive, accepting way. And I will just ask you to describe your best, highest moment on the Camino. The moment where you're like, maybe you felt this is the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it would be right before Saria, so O Sobrero, right? So you get to O Sobrero, you've done like a really difficult day. Um, I I didn't come to suffer. I had also sort of lost, like at this point, I was like actually by myself because Leslie it had gone forward. Lela had already gone forward 2 days ago or something like that. I don't know where Anand and Florian were, so I was just like, cool. I'm finally gonna walk the Camino by myself. This is gonna be amazing, and I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do and stop where I want to stop. And this is what a real Camino is like. Anand had asked me before where he was like, oh, because people were doing like these 40K days, 42Ks or whatever. The most I'd done was like 27. I was following the stages where I think you do it in like 33 days or something like that. And I was like, I don't need to push myself any more than that. And we came, it's for leaving Old Sobrero. I knew I didn't want to stay in it was 18 kilometers to the next stage. What is the one before Saria? It begins with an A. No, Tris Castella.
Tria Castella, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just gonna go forward from Tris Castella. I don't necessarily feel the need to stay here, and then let's see what comes before I get to Saria. Before I get to Saria, somewhere early on in the day, I had my backpack on at this time, and somewhere early in the day, I was just like, what if I make it to Saria? And I was like, don't be crazy. That's like 42 kilometers, 43 kilometers away. You are not that person. Um, I kept walking. And then I kept walking. And I texted Leslie because I knew Leslie was in Saria. And I texted Leslie and said, you're there, right? And he was like, I am. And I was like, maybe. Maybe I'm going to make it there. And he was like, just let me know and I'll get you a room if you're going to be here. And I just kept walking. And I did not know I had that in me physically to be able to do something like that. And I was just blissed out and happy that whole entire day. Nothing about that day felt difficult, even though I had my backpack on. Nothing about that day felt difficult. I just kept going. It was really, really beautiful as well. The walk from Osabrero, going through just after Trias Costella, getting into Saria, it's like woodsy and very hobbit-like, and it was just really, really beautiful. And I remember, basically once I did that, after that, it's my Camino became so relaxed because I was like, whatever, I'm not going to stress about. It's basically I stopped stressing about everything, including my backpack, where I was like, okay, if I send it forward, I don't care because I just carried it for 43 kilometers. So it felt like a real, obviously the whole Camino feels like an achievement, but doing something like that, again, unplanned and just going for it because I felt like it that was probably that was one of my big highlights on the Camino.
That limiting belief that you
Exactly.
overcame,
Yeah.
have you used that experience in your post-Camino life?
Every day.
Love it.
It's not so much every day, but I mean, it's and I don't want to bring things down on our new reality is that we live in a pandemic. It's not even post-pandemic world, it is a pandemic world, and I'm amazed at how much I actually have used and I live in New York City, right? So it was hairy here at the start. We managed to get it under control and stuff like that, but I also live with high risk people and stuff like that, but there was so much strength that I gained from the Camino that I did not realize that would come to me later. I'm very happy that I still continue to apply it to different scenarios, different situations, and things like that. Because once you've lived off a backpack and just done all these sorts of things, you're like, well, what's going to come at me that I can't actually handle? And you realize you have this inner strength within. And the Camino was very reaffirming for me in that way. You always suspect that you are a certain type of person, but having that confirmed on the Camino and then having the confidence to sort of take that forward, that's been invaluable.
Beautiful. I mean, like you say, you think after you've just lived out of a backpack and just put one foot in front of the other
Yeah.
and everything turned out okay, it can kind of give you the belief that life will, in the end, turn out okay. And I remember saying to my wife when we came back from our last Camino, I just said to her, like, life is so easy without,
Yeah.
we already know where we're going to eat. We already know
Yeah.
where we're going to sleep. We haven't got to carry our stuff with us.
Yeah.
So life is easy. And we can sometimes be guilty of overcomplicating things. So
Absolutely.
I love the way you've just put a cap on everything like that and just said you've taken that strength into the pandemic world we live in now. And I have got personally a lot from this interview with you, and I've really appreciate all your insights. And you said something about you didn't know the reason why, maybe the reason why you walked it at the time, or some of these things come in hindsight. And one of our guests, Caitlin, I'm going to get her name wrong, possibly Clendenin, I think that's right, or Glendenin, I have to check it. And she said, when you're on the Camino, sometimes your best lessons are yet to be revealed. And
Yeah.
so stick with it. Everything will come out everywhere. That it will shine after the rain eventually. So
And it's what you just said also. It's one foot in front of the other. And that for me, if you want to talk about a mantra and things like that, it is very much about one foot in
love
front of
it.
the other.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Paso a paso,
Paso a
as we
paso,
say.
step by step.
Paso a paso. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's a great way to end it there, Zehra. Thank you so much for your stories, your recommendations, your wisdom, your quotes, your own personal approach, your unique personality that you did it. You do you. And I love the fact that you did that. So remember, everybody, if you take something away from this interview, it's you do you, and you didn't come to suffer.
Yes. Thank you, Brad. It's just it feels like a privilege every time I get to talk about the Camino because I get to relive it. So thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it.
And thank you for giving me the motivation to get my knees back to working order to go back and do it.
Okay. Take care.
And I just want to say, probably you won't go back and do another Camino. You never know because you said you weren't a hiker. But if you do, I want to wish you buen camino. And if you don't, I'm going to wish you the Camino motto for the rest of life, which is Ultreya, move forward with courage, paso a paso, step by step.
Thank you so very much.
It's been a pleasure, Zehra. Thank you very much.